Ulbright. People, they're going to fault Trump for not having followed through on all of his promises because the war in Ukraine is still ongoing, as far as we know. In his first day, he secured the border. They're deporting criminal illegal aliens. Not just illegal aliens, criminal illegal aliens. Deporting. In the first day, he's going energy independent. In the first day, he signed the proclamation pardoning 1,500 Jan 6 defendants. In the first day, let me just get one. I know Encryptus, by the way, over in our locals community, made an amazing summary of all of the executive orders signed by Trump and how they apply. It's amazing. Border security, immigration, environmental policies. He killed DEI. I mean, that will never get old, but DEI is now DIE'd, dead. Partisan legal challenges. He went and fulfilled the promise to pardon the Jan 6s and all of them. It's an amazing thing. He heard what the people were saying. He heard the movement. Jake Lang, for whatever the hell you think about him, is an effective activist. And when I had evolved on my position even before I became aware that, of the push to do it, because I didn't think it was possible. I said, it's not this. At this point, you pardon all of them. And Jake Lang got very active from behind the walls of the DC Gulag, and the movement grew. And Trump heard, and he pardoned or commuted all of their sentences. Charges dropped against those who were still in pretrial detention with no trial. And now he's followed through on another campaign promise to pardon Ross Ulbricht. Let me pull up a couple of good clips here. Just a reminder of promises he made. This was recent.
Today, I repeat my pledge to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served. It's enough. It's enough.
The promise he made was to the Libertarians, and it's an amazing thing. They don't always lose. Oh, sorry, they never win, but at least they don't always lose. And this time they didn't lose because it was a promise that Trump made to the Libertarian Party to pardon one of their boys, that being Ross Ulbricht, who was libertarian at heart, and that was the idea behind the Silk Road's dark web website in the first place.
And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
The banners say free Ross.
He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home.
He's 40 years. Can you imagine stealing the 30s to 40s of a man's life? Now, I'm going to try to summarize the story of the Silk Road saga. If I miss any details, I'll follow the chat. Don't accuse me of lying or misrepresenting or being an Ulbricht simp. My understanding, the Silk Road was an anonymous online platform, the dark web, where you could buy whatever you want free of government interference. Ulbricht, something I didn't fully appreciate, buy illegal drugs so that you can make the market safer because the government has no business telling you what drugs, illegal or not, you can put into your body, gave it that angle and was sort of, ostentatious about that angle of the Silk Road. It was a website using torrents and using, I don't know if VPNs was the right word, untraceable between vendors and purchasers who never met, never connected, and were largely unconnectable, except for the fact that it seems like a vast majority of the people on that website were feds or federal agents, but we'll get to that in a second. So they set up this website with a libertarian angle. It was anonymous, but at some point they found out who he was because he used his name on an online message board or whatever. And it was selling drugs from vendors to purchasers. And apparently it was selling the good stuff from Afghanistan. There were some rules from what I understand. I don't know if there's an argument that these rules weren't followed. There were no guns, no firearms, no child pornography, no illegal sexual material. There was allegedly murder for hire on it. Like, it had everything. Murder for hire, illegal drugs. Apparently, according to one of the FBI agents who was on a Lex Friedman podcast, there were offers for human parts on there. Whether or not those offers were bona fide legitimate, or whether or not those offers were from other Fed agents who probably were just entrapping other Fed agents by setting up illegal transactions, and everyone's a Fed behind the anonymity of the Silk Road, whatever. That was the idea. He gets found out. My understanding in terms of the questionable nature of some of the evidence that they managed to get in that case is that they were following Ulbricht after they found out who he was. He was in a library one day, downloading some Breaking Bad and being the administrator of the Silk Road. And FBI agents staged a fight behind Ross Ulbricht. And when he looked around at the fight, they snatched his computer before he could shut the screen where it would encrypt the information. And that's how they obtained the information from Ross Ulbricht. I don't know if that is definitely not the sole extent of the police abuse in that case. That's one of it. They arrest him. I remember there were charges that he had partaken in. Murder for hire was one of, he was seeking to have one of his partners killed because he stole allegedly Bitcoin. And they brought all of that up, although they never actually charged him with murder for hire. The murder for hire, from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong again, chat, is that in the message board on the webs on the Silk Road in the administrators, there was somebody who purported to be the Dread Pirate Roberts, which was the name of the administrator of the Silk Road. And it was an administrator that Ross Ulbricht occupied as a title or a position, but it was sort of like the real Dread Pirate Roberts from the movie Princess Bride. It was a position that people filled. And so the position remained, but the people who filled it or held it or had access to it changed and were multiple over years. And so the Dread Pirate Robert, pissed off with one of the partners who stole Bitcoin, says, I want to whack, or the agent on the other end says, we're gonna get him. Do you want me to beat him, torture him, or whatever? And then sends pictures of him allegedly having tortured the guy. And then that was the murder for hire plot. They never charged Ulbricht with that, and I presume it's because either it was entrapment from the Fed agent who was soliciting the murder for hire, or they were both agents in on it, or they knew damn well it wasn't Ross Ulbricht who was occupying the handle of administrator under the title of the real Dread Pirate Roberts. Okay, they never charged him with it, but yet somehow it factored into the decision-making of the judge. I wanted to bring up the judge. Who was the judge in Ross Ulbricht conviction? They bring it up the judge brings it up in sentencing. The judge goes well beyond the guidelines, which would have dictated a sentence of 10 years, give or take. And she sentences him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge Catherine B. Forrest. Not putting anyone on blast. I just want to know who the judge was, who appointed the judge. Appointed by Barack Obama. This is the judge who exceeds the minimum or the sentencing guidelines for a non-violent, I don't even know if you could call it a drug offense, and sentences Ross Ulbricht with some statements that more closely resemble the diatribe of that judge who sentenced Tina Peters to 9 years for purported election interference. A Barack Obama appointed judge. New York. What's her name? Catherine Forrest. Born in 1964, one of 6 children. Her father wrote mystery novels. Her mother was a nurse. The family received food stamps for 4 years, beginning when Catherine was 12. They were homeless for 6 months. Wow. I came from nothing, Forrest said. I came from a father who made no money. He was a playwright and then a writer. And even though he published a lot of books, I was a complete scholarship student all the way through. Okay, good for her. With a good legal mind. She went well beyond the guidelines, sentenced him to life in prison with no possibility of parole. The kid was 28, 29 years old when that happened. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, yes, that's right. They attributed, because the website Silk Road, dealt in anonymous transactions involving drugs, they tried to pin on Ross Ulbricht, or at least it came up in prosecution and sentencing, that 5 or 6 people OD'd or died as a result of the drugs that they procured on the website. And they tried to pin that on Ross Ulbricht. Can you imagine? I just want to pause on there. That he's in a website dealing in illegal transactions, allegedly. I mean, there are illegal transactions. The website itself is just a website to facilitate this. If people want to break the law using the tools that are available, whether or not that's on the car maker, if somebody decides to drive their car too fast. Except he said that he openly stated that he set this up as a libertarian philosophy because the government should not be able to tell you that you can't buy drugs. So his intent was a little more clear in terms of what he was setting it up for, but they tried to pit deaths on him. Appreciate that. Doing something illegal that results in the death of people from overdoses, and they put this guy away for life with no possibility of parole. Do you guys know who the Sachs family is? The ones that were behind the opioid crisis, knowingly overprescribing medications, getting people hooked. And how many people did they kill? How many people did the Sachs kill? I mean, I think it's, you could probably get a million out of this. How many people died as a result of the Sachs opioid family? I think it's going to be close to a million, if not more. The opioid crisis, heavily influenced by Purdue, the Sackler, no, sorry, not the Sachs, over 200,000 deaths have been attributed specifically to prescription opioids like Oxycontin since the crisis began. More broadly, the opioid epidemic as a whole, including both prescription and illicit opioids, has resulted in about 500,000 deaths from overdoses between 1999 and 2019. By some accounts, the number of deaths as a result of the crisis could exceed 600,000. It's important to note that while the Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family have been central figures in the opioid crisis, through their marketing and sales practices of Oxycontin, the crisis encompasses contributions made from multiple sources. Yeah, okay. Grok is running cover for the Sackler family. The Sackler family is responsible for more than 5 deaths. No criminal prosecution. I think there was criminal prosecution. They settled. This is the standard. Politically unpopular, life without a possibility of parole. Politically connected, nothing. So that is the story of Ross Ulbricht in as much as I understand it. And Trump just pardoned him or commuted to time served. And MSM ain't too happy about it. From the Hill, the Trump pardoned Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht. President Trump said Tuesday that he had signed a full pardon for Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the scandalous online marketplace Silk Road, fulfilling a campaign promise Trump had made to the Libertarian voters. Trump posted on Truth Social he called Ulbricht's mother to inform her. Can you imagine what that feels like? Biden destroys people, ruins lives, and locks people away. And Trump literally saves lives. Michael Harris, founder of Death Row Records, I need to know his story in greater detail, pardoned. Came out to the premiere of John Eastman's documentary on lawfare, and basically said, "Thank God for Trump. He saved my life." Trump saved this kid's life, and in as much as this kid might have done something wrong in the first place, maybe be a haughty rebel who says, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in your face about defying government regulations." All right, what would be a fair punishment? They tried to pit the murder for hire on him, which they couldn't and didn't. They tried to attribute 5 or 6 deaths to him. What do drug dealers get? It's an amazing thing that convicted drug dealers, convicted rapists, they don't just get less time. They get a drop in the bucket compared to what they threw at Ross Ulbricht. The scum that worked to convict him, I'm quoting Trump here, I think. Trump, yes. The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern day weaponization of government against me. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous. Trump posted on Truth Social. Ulbricht founded Silk Road, online black market for drugs, heroin, cocaine, yada, yada. Convicted in 2015 on 7 counts related to the site, including distributing narcotics on the internet and engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise. Sentenced to life. He'd become a rallying cause for libertarians. Trump spoke in May, said he would pardon them. Ross Ulbricht has been a libertarian political prisoner for more than a decade. I'm proud to say that saving his life has been one of our top priorities, and that has finally paid off. Libertarian National Committee Chair Angela McArdle said in a statement Tuesday. Well, I'll tell you who's going to be very happy. Dave Smith. And the Libertarians. They never win, but they don't always lose. And at least this time they have a very big W in that they actually saved a man's life through their political jockeying. And it's actually, I can't see anything wrong with it. That's Ross Ulbricht. Did I miss anything for that? McMurphy says, for years convicted drug dealers got 10 to 15 years. Him serving 11 sounds about right. Yeah, and I do think he was unabashed about the fact that he was using it to facilitate illegal drug transactions because the government, as a libertarian in his view, shouldn't have the right to do that.